in the India Today studio, we're recreating that Kremlin hall where India Today's Geeta Mohan and Anjana Om Kashyap spoke to President Putin. Both of them are with me on this special broadcast. That's our top focus story. So on India First, I want to begin this conversation with two superb journalists, two of India Today and Aaj Tak's finest, and what a scoop, Geeta and Anjana, spectacular. Truly, truly spectacular. Anyone would, give an arm and a leg for what, and more for this scoop. But let's dive straight into this. What was their experience like, Geeta and then Anjana? What was this experience like? This Ekaterina Hall. So yeah. Tell me, what was it like?
So it's called Ekaterina Hall, and I'll start with with where we are standing right now, Gaurav, because when we went for the recce and we were looking at all these places, you see on the left-hand side where the curtains are, is exactly where a carpet is laid and a table and chairs are put, and that's where most of the interviews happen, including Tucker Carlson's interview. That was where it happens. And then our team went in, and our group managing editor, production, Samakya, was leading the entire production of this interview. So he went there and he saw the statue, and he went up to the press, assistant press secretary, and he said, "Can we get this?" And he was talking to me, and we said, they want this, they want that statue as the backdrop. Lo and behold, it symbolizes a lot.
Yes.
It's a female warrior symbolizing Russia, two women journalists interviewing Putin. It just fell in place in terms of symbolism. But we didn't know it then. He just wanted the statue. And so then he pushed for it, and we got it. They were professional. They agreed to things. They said, it's your interview. And then later he said, this is the first interview that's not taking place where it normally does. This is the first time this statue is the backdrop of an interview.
Anjana, what was that experience like for you to be at Kremlin, to interview President Putin? And you knew every word that he'd say, the whole world was watching.
Absolutely, and that is how we opened the entire interview, talking about two old friends who were meeting, and probably they would share a lot of warmth and everybody would be, uncomfortable about it. But the best thing was that we were interviewing him before his India visit. So Gaurav, this experience is actually unmatched. It's like, I'm still, trying to relive a lot of those moments, because every time we would reach a historic place, I would tell those guys who were escorting us around, let me soak this in, let me soak this in, let me take this in. You're in Kremlin. And the point is that what we need to understand, Gaurav, is that a lot of mystery and enigma has been built around Vladimir Putin.
Oh, absolutely.
He has been portrayed by the Western media like a bloodthirsty czar kind of a person who wants to build his empire again. See, the Russia-Ukraine war has to be seen in perspective. Prime Minister Narendra Modi sat next to him and said, we are not neutral, we want peace. So India's stand is absolutely clear on that, and that is what all of us think. But I do feel that, he's been portrayed in a certain way that Kremlin is something that nobody can pierce through, nobody can go inside.
Behind the Iron Curtain.
No, we were told we could shoot inside.
And
we were told, Geeta, that we could shoot inside. So they were okay with it. Like, there were some parts like where his house was, because that's super high security. Otherwise, important parts where there were many...
In fact, the second time when we were there, Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff, they were holding a meeting with Putin a few rooms away.
We were right there. And everything was just happening in front of our eyes. The three best important takeaways for me from this interview. Number one, Kremlin has always been portrayed as this massive iron curtain that you talked about. Everything hidden, nothing comes out, no cameras allowed. That entire, you can say, that image absolutely broke. Absolutely broke.
It's like KGB agents everywhere.
I was walking in every day, 3 days.
Maybe they're there, but at least they were not stifling us.
3 days, like continuously. And then at the end of it, I told those guys that, you can give us a place to live here now, till you don't give us the interview. So it was that nice. His team was so perfect, immaculate with all their arrangements, there would be a person waiting for us outside London Library and this entire Kremlin place. They would escort us in a car, get all our cars checked and our passports checked, equipment checked. And even the RT-PCRs or all the tests that were done, because we were sitting in very close vicinity with the president, everything was done, everything was arranged by them. They were very forthcoming, and they were also looking forward to this interview, which makes me come to the point that Russia also values, and in these times, they also need India. And if he openly said that I want to bring an import expo there and try and tell my people what they can buy from India, so he was actually trying to hit certain notes. That, you need jobs,
that interview
you
with
need
India
business,
today,
you need jobs, we're here.
And at least with India Today, he knew there was no agenda that was being peddled. There were no half-truths or absolute lies like the West.
Gaurav, he was so relaxed.
Also a no-holds-barred interview.
No holds barred.
We
they
were
didn't
not
ask you
told,
for questions.
No.
They didn't.
They asked us for broad areas because the president has to be prepared. In fact, after his meetings got over, Gaurav, we were told that all his engagements are over. And now he's going to just get briefed and prepare himself ahead of the interview. And that was about 3 hours from when the interview actually started. That's how prepared he came. Without the questions, just the fact that we gave them broad areas. When we were discussing, we said, okay, do you want specific areas? They said, no, we do not want. We just want, we don't want specifics. You can ask him whatever you want to. We just want areas so that he knows what you want to talk about. And within that realm, he'll answer whatever. So it was a no-holds-barred interview, truly so.
And the translation, because your questions were in English and in Hindi, real time.
Real time.
That was a first for us.
Fantastic.
It was a first for me. It was very, very easy. It was, but you had to concentrate a lot. You had to, because there were times
because you picked up our questions from his answers.
When we are like that, you know, like somebody's saying something and we have 10 questions in our mind. So when he said Witkoff, I was talking to Witkoff in the other room. I said, you weren't talking just to Witkoff, there were 2 of them. Mr. Jared Kushner as well. So he says, 2 versus 1. So, and you know, somehow that symphony fell in place.
We said, you know, and again, you know, if we talk about takeaways, sense of humor. I asked him about his meeting with Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff, and I said, I'd love to be a fly on the wall, given that that's my beat. He said, oh, well, you wouldn't have wanted to. It was rather boring. 5 hours, I was bored.
Imagine for a president to say that. I mean,
but that's the closest he ever got to saying something which could land him in a problem with US. Otherwise, he was very careful. He was very careful, is my reading.
But, and he's supremely confident. He knows what he wants to say, Anjana. He wants to, you know, what he wants to convey. And he has an end game in mind. Three
points which will convince you about this. When I asked him about that energy thing, he was very clear. He said, US is buying nuclear energy from us. And they want to tell you not to buy oil.
About hypocrisy, oil.
Second, I don't want to go to G8. We've looked at each other like, you don't want to enter G8?
Because
said no.
Those were the reports. See, everything is about reports, and we were debunking those reports, which is why international media, including CNN, said there's a lot to learn from the India Today interview. Because you keep putting these, you know, articles out about how Putin is pushing for G8, and when I asked him, he said no.
He said no, I don't want to. And the third thing that I was talking about, so these 2 points where his sense of clarity on issues was very clear. The other was USSR. When we categorically asked him, she asked him about reintegration.
No, she asked him about disintegration, and he had a perfect answer for that. And then I said, what about reintegration? Because that also media keeps citing, and a lot of European countries say, oh, we are next. If it's Ukraine, we are next. He said, I have no such interest because it will change how the composition of Russia culturally and religiously.
That's again something very important. You know, he's big on history, on civilization, and he sees himself, quite like Prime Minister Narendra Modi, as somebody who's there to bring about a change for the betterment of his country.
Well, he does think Russia is foremost when it comes to how he's thinking, decisions he's taking, and policies he's making. He's doing what he thinks is right for his country, and which is why when we were asking him questions, he focused on strategic autonomy.
Yes, he did.
Something that India keeps talking about, Gaurav.
And he respects Prime Minister Narendra Modi for that, Anjana.
Oh, he was slipping in this every little opportunity that he had. He would slip in the Indian growth story. He was like, this is not the India of the 70s. So I think whatever time he took to concentrate on the interview, he put all that focus on how to describe India, the India that exists today. So that was very interesting. He would talk about Narendra Modi all the time. Like, my question was, how do you characterize Trump? He said, I do not want to characterize a colleague. But when it came to Prime Minister Modi, he was just so enamored by him, and probably also because he values this relationship a lot.
And
I mean, imagine
friendship.
100 minutes
And
of
the
an interview.
friendship.
Who's doing this? He did it because it's not that something happened suddenly. It's because the Russian president has a clear view about India.
Yeah.
He wants to penetrate every Indian household, and he knows that the Aaj Tak India Today group can do it. He picks on us, and then we are there in front of him, and he gives us a, like she's saying, no holds barred interview, and he's so relaxed. Look at him.
Yeah.
You talk to him about his KGB days. I asked him. She asked him, which CIA or K, and I'm getting the maximum responses on these questions. People are like,
And Mossad. I mean,
Yeah,
you know,
Mossad. He mentioned it himself.
He mentioned Mossad.
So it was absolutely. I think two things this will do for Putin as well. It is big for us, and it also puts Indian media on a very important platform in the world.
Yeah.
And all this Western media that has dominated the entire narrative for years and years, we've kind of put forth.
We bring out facts, and only facts. And you asked him tough questions, both of you. You didn't spare him on questions that the world would want answers to. The Russian origin people in Ukraine.
Russian-speaking
And
people,
Kyiv,
Russian origin.
and what he had said on Kyiv, I said,
Yeah.
you've said it's the mother of all Russian cities. So what did you mean by that? But the best thing is that what he'll do for Putin is that the maximum reviews I'm getting now is that in this conversation, a leader and a man came across to them. They're thinking कि वो ऐसे बात करता है, he shakes hands with people. He talks to people, and he's so relaxed with you.
In fact, the
But I
BTS
also
was
want to
very
ask
interesting.
what
Yes.
Anjana was saying when she spoke about, this interview. Why was it important to give it to an Indian network? And why is it important that India Today got it, Gaurav? Is because it's not just penetrating every Indian home. It's about telling the world that we do not need Western media to sound legitimate and credible.
Yeah,
that we
you don't crave legitimacy.
No, I'm
Absolutely.
talking about Russia. That they can give it to an Indian network and be heard everywhere in the world.
True.
So we have made a mark where we did not focus just on India. We focused on every question that concerns Russia when it comes to the world. We asked him tough questions on Trump. We asked him about Russia, Ukraine. We asked him about Gaza. We asked him about Israel, Palestine,
AI, Gen
Iran, Gen Z, the Gen Z
Taliban,
protests.
Afghanistan. No, but let me.
Recognizing the Taliban.
Geeta, let's do something else now. Let's ask Gaurav what was his
What
favorite
was
part
your
of the
reaction?
interview.
The fact
What
that
was
you
your
are a
favorite
foreign-
part of the interview?
What was your favorite part, Gaurav?
Every bit of it. In fact, I had the privilege of listening to it, the whole thing, including the conversation later that happened. And considering I've reported both from Russia and from Ukraine, like you, during the conflict and after that, I know where he's coming from and where he's trying to get at. The West may not understand, and especially when he says what he said on Donbass. And that's where I wanted both of you to respond. Such clarity of thought that when the war started, or the special operations as he puts it, Donbass is something that he wanted. Donetsk and Luhansk, no getting rid of that.
No
and you've
getting-
reported
and
from
Crimea.
there, on either side, by the way.
And Crimea.
Yeah.
And Crimea.
Donetsk, Luhansk, and Crimea. Because he
Crimea
asked
though
about
goes
Crimea.
without saying there is no way would
No,
he have
because
ceded that.
it was jointly operated, right? He said, but to the word annexation, he said, no, we didn't annex it.
I
It
think
was ours.
It was ours from
We are
before.
just saying, we are just claiming it completely is because there is a threat to Russian national security, and Crimea is the only warm water port that Russia has. So, absolute
I think
clarity.
the interesting part of this entire interview prep was also, Gaurav, that I and Geeta were, very clear that we want proper symphony between us, a flow of questions, but we had also prepared in anticipation of what he would answer. So we were like, which parts are you, what are the red lines? So we were clear that he's going to try and evade such questions maybe.
Did he?
So I think he evaded the China-India question quite smartly.
A little careful. I think he
was
answered,
careful.
but he was careful.
See, when he talks
because
about
they're both
nuclear
friends.
energy, he's...
In fact, he did not evade, Anjana. He said a very important thing there to you. He said, that I see that they both are making
Efforts.
an effort, and there is intent to resolve. He sees it that way, because also there must be.
Why
that
I say he evaded that question is because my question was not in the context of Russia interfering in the Indo-China whatever
Sino-Indian
differences we
context,
have.
How do you see it?
My question was that you want RIC. You are saying you don't want to go to G8, but you went to China, and now you're coming to India. You obviously want RIC to be together. But if these two need to be together, then there needs to be some kind of
peace at the borders.
And then you are always walking on tightrope because you have to balance the two. You went to China, now you're coming to India. Also to ensure that the Chinese hegemony that's happening in the Russian market today has to somehow be balanced. How are you balancing India and China? That was my question.
I know, but
yeah, he took it away from there.
But if he would have said anything, that would have been interference.
Yeah.
You're getting it in diplomacy.
Yeah.
If he would have said anything,
No.
that
No,
would have been interference.
He could have
so
said
he left
that
it
I
at
give
that you guys decide.
No, Geeta. So the answer could have been, I'm just assuming, could have been the Chinese and the Chinese people are equally important for me, but keeping this relationship with India is also very important. They're equally important. He didn't want to say that. Equally, or words like that, or I value this and I value this more. He didn't want to say that. He said that they have to sort their differences. We will work together.
And in your view, Geeta, his love for India and for Prime Minister, his affection for Prime Minister Narendra Modi comes out very naturally, because I was just watching, he was talking about yoga, he was talking about Raj Kapoor just a moment ago.
Yeah, RT.
Yeah, so all that comes very naturally to him.
It does. He has engaged India through prime ministers, through through governments, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi has been at the helm of affairs at a time that has been most difficult, turbulent, and testing times for Russia. And India stood by Russia come what may. In fact, if these visuals, not the ones that you're seeing because that is us, but if the visuals of Modi and Putin are to be seen closely,
just
it
a
just
second.
spells out defiance.
This woman that you're seeing right now,
Yes, in fact,
she was one of our translators.
Oh, I thought she was one of the security,
No. So this girl, she was one of our translators, and you will see the other one in the informal conversation where this other gentleman who was part of all the translation when we were, like having an informal interaction. But you'll see that girl right now. This girl.
Yeah.
She was our English woman translator. So what used to happen?
Interpreters.
20 minutes.
Yes.
20 minutes of interpreters.
Yes.
Like,
oh, yeah, because they have to concentrate so much
No, and
on
because they
every
have to
word.
write also.
And they write.
Then they write, and they're real-time writing, doing it. So they take 20 minutes, they take turns.
Great.
They take turns.
In fact, Geeta, tell him about what they told us. That don't be surprised if you get a man's voice in your ear and then suddenly there's a woman
And
speaking.
then they prepared us, because then they came, the two officers came, and this lady officer and the other gentleman, and they introduced themselves. Then they practiced with us. We did a
diction,
real-time,
pronunciation.
and also real-time, how will it sound? Because for Anjana, it's the first time that she's doing an interpreter. So they practiced with us.
Wow.
Where somebody was sitting, answering our questions, and we were getting it. We were getting the interpretation, so that we were completely prepared before we go into that interview with the president.
Amazing. Amazing. And on that question, if I may, because Anjana, I want to come back to the question on Ukraine. The whole world wants an answer to what next in Ukraine. Yeah. America wanted an answer. Absolutely. And his thinking is very clear in that conversation with you, absolutely. Even off the record.
Absolutely. I think off the record, we didn't talk much about Russia, Ukraine. But I think in that very answer, his stand was very, very clear. He's there, and he's still there. He's not coming back.
No, in fact, those lines seem to be advancing. The manner in which the Ukrainians...
And even when she mentioned the port of Crimea, she talked about Crimea.
Yeah.
So what happens is, when you finish your question, and even on the way, that live translator is happening. Yeah. So when he heard Crimea, and she said that about this, I heard him laugh midway in hearing to that question. So this man is absolutely
also
clear.
because he understands English.
Yes, he does.
He just does not speak it. He understands English completely.
But even in the off-record conversation, he wanted a translator. Because probably, see, like a little thing happened. We were talking about some other gentleman. And initially we thought he's saying that he's not sharp. So 3 or 4 of us started laughing.
Then he corrected.
But then
he realized that we didn't get it. He said, no. What did you ask? I am saying he is sharp.
The point is that there is
I can
scope for a
only
little
assume who
misunderstanding.
you're talking
Yes.
about.
No, don't.
And
Now you assume all you want.
You assume.
yeah, no, and the
yours.
fact he is where he is and finding the way for peace shows he's sharp.
He is very sharp.
Yeah.
On Ukraine, he
Amazing.
made it very clear on Steve Witkoff, because that also made headlines all through Western networks. They're very focused on Russia, Ukraine. He said that I asked him 28-point peace proposal, is it out of the table, out of the window, off the table? He said, no, it's on the table. It's just now 4 packages. He didn't elaborate on what those 4 packages are, but they really, which he also hinted at one thing. He said, I see intent when it comes to Donald Trump wanting peace, but I also see economic interests.
Oh, absolutely. Reconstruction would have
Rare
a lot of
earth.
oil, rare earth,
Rare
gas.
earth in Ukraine.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's already a
Deal that's
place,
happened behind
yeah.
the scenes. So, okay, so we've digressed a bit. Let me come back to the interview. There are many who see him as the new czar of Russia. Did you get that impression, either of you, Anjana and Geeta?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And that is where I began, because all this narrative that has been built around him,
Yeah.
he's very warm. He's very warm. Like, we were, apprehensive if we should be shaking hands, because obviously, I mean, we have to wait for him to take that this thing. And he came forth like this, and then he's smiling, he's laughing all through the interview.
Yeah.
He's smiling, and I'm like, okay, I'm asking questions on March 8, 2014. You were addressing the Federation Council, and you said Kyiv is the mother of all Russian cities. What did you mean? Smiling, and then he's answering, and then he's waiting for the next one. So he was very engaging. So I think this entire thing...
engaging.
And
He was
historically,
relaxed.
Kiev, Russians hold Kiev in so much respect, the Orthodox Church. But he also mentioned in that
did.
response to you
He did.
that what they're doing to Orthodox Church is not correct.
Because
Not
now
correct.
it's separate.
Yeah.
The Orthodox Church in Russia is absolutely separate from the one in Kiev, whereas it was Kiev held the key.
Absolutely. We've been there, incidentally, we went there together.
Yes.
It's beautiful. You have to see it to believe it. And I mean, if this war wasn't there, Russia and Ukraine together as friends are a great part of the world to be in.
He's just saying that. If there's no NATO threat, we're great. I don't want NATO in my backyard, as America did not want, and that's me, not him, saying, as America did not want Russia in their backyard during the Cuban Missile Crisis, Gaurav. Yep. So there's clarity in what the West is trying to do and what the West wants to do, to which I said, Zelensky, was NATO ever on the table? He said, you ask that gentleman, because he's the one who promised all this. He's the one who is responsible now for what is happening in Ukraine. And he went on to actually call him a neo-Nazi. I think there has to be a realization. But he also offered peace through negotiations, which is also rare, because for the longest they did not want to negotiate with Ukraine. Now they're saying, come to the negotiating table. Very, very interesting.
Okay. And your impression, Anjana, that one, he's supremely confident. He's all there. He's, despite being one of the most powerful men in the world, Anjana, he's very careful in what he says, let's say about Donald Trump or Prime Minister Modi or any other world leader.
Exactly. So, in fact, as soon as the interview was over and we were having this little conversation, he actually said that you were trying to get me there so that I would say something, but I did not. You know what we're talking about. So, I assess him as a politician who does not fear the West. Russia stepped into this century with him. He has been at the top for a quarter of a century. But at the same time, this man is not going to stoop to the level of some other politicians who name people, who abuse people openly. He was very categoric. Like, he had to say, you're buying nuclear energy and you want to stop India. I don't want to be part of G8. So these things were coming. So that showed clearly that he doesn't fear the West. But he did not want to name and shame anyone individually. So I think a very mature leader who knows that when he talks or when he speaks, a country and its people are at stake. So you have to be careful about what you're saying. He knows that responsibility. So I think you have to give it to him that in spite of the fact that he's probably, one of the most influential and most powerful nation's head, he was very clear that I will not misuse this thing to, like, you know, slightly talk about anyone, be it anyone.
I think kind of old school.
Yeah.
Yeah, 25
which
years.
is nice, which
he's
is
been at the
pleasant,
helm.
right?
Yeah, 25 years. But congratulations once again, Geeta and Anjana, for this brilliant, brilliant scoop. And this is something that we'll be talking about, we'll all be talking about for such a long time. Thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you, Gaurav,
Thank
for
you,
having
Gaurav.
us.